Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present our top stories in the news tonight. Residents in MONGU district express gratitude for government's MAIZE delivery efforts. UNICEF Zambia warns of devastating impact of drought on children and pregnant women. SMEAZ calls on government to empower small-medium enterprises for economic expansion. In international news, rural Ugandan woman gives hope to fellow sufferers of sickle cell disease. And in sports news, SPURS to be tested against Man City, says POSTECOGLOU. These are more stories coming up shortly after this break.
Enjoy the benefits of an instant loan with us ranging from 1,000 kwacha to 750,000 kwacha paid express once collateral is viewed, valued and verified. Call us on 0763 595 359 or 0779 432 993. Classified Financial Express, here as your financial friend.
And our Camnet Television main news in detail. Residents in MONGU district have expressed their gratitude towards the government's efforts of ferrying maize to the region to mitigate hunger. In an interview with Camnet News in MONGU, Limulunga Council Chairperson Namakando Masie assured the public that no one would die of hunger. Mr. Masie, also serving as Western Province UPND Information Publicity Secretary, underscored that this action stems from the government's dedication to combating drought-induced hunger. More in the following report.
As climate change continues to wreak havoc, drought has severely impacted farmers nationwide, leading to low yields. To address this challenge, the government has initiated a maize transportation program across the provinces to question hunger among citizens. Namakando Masie is Limulunga Council Chairperson and also Western Province United Party for National Development Information Publicity Secretary.
The government was concerned about the drought situation which is affecting almost everyone. Government assured its people that no one was going to die of hunger. This is what you see behind me here, station of that government promise which was made publicly to the people of Zambia, and we appreciate the government of the day led by His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Chilema, who has made it possible that this time around, this is May, we have enough maize which is being transported to Western Province, and the people of Limulunga are assured to have access to this commodity which has been delivered.
In an interview with Camnet News in MONGU, Namakando assured that no one will die of hunger, and he has urged citizens across the country to support government's good policies.
Yes, for the entire province, we should support the good policies of government, especially the policies of UPND, because we've never seen this from time immemorial. This you see, maize has been delivered on time, indicating that from May, I think, to the next harvest of 2024-2025 farming season, people will have enough food, will have enough meal, which they will be able to access at any time.
Meanwhile, some MONGU residents have expressed their gratitude toward the government's effort to mitigate the effect of drought and ensure food security.
Tala ya 2019 neli etuna kufita ye. Kolondo kusina matrax yali chochwana mwa ulozi. Mbonyi lulika bungata. Miluna nisepo ya kuli. Babana ni mali haba na kufatala. Kupofya elukupa kubo President Baluna. Batu babafike tuwanga mwalira luza luna moza kuliba ngole mali yaya kutusa babasinda. Na yabuli afahani beleki anisikanyalwa ndani bana balalu kone kuti ana right yakona kufumanda kwa kuwola mashirenyi yao
twale falu bona kuli bo president luli balulwanela akulwanisa ddala sinamubona kuli matracks amangata ngata obatisize fakimbonye then aba aigai wambonye bubwe ndi bupi mwa bulozi bukachipa kamba mwa mungu kachipa batu abana kutongoka katala yo basitole kutongoka kanako kafera.
Museo Kabira, Camnet News in MONGU district of Western Province.
The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has warned that around 102,000 children are in danger of malnutrition, with 2,070 children at risk of moderate malnutrition and approximately 1.7 million expectant mothers facing the threat of anemia due to the ongoing drought in the country. UNICEF Zambia Chief Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Officer Tinkani Msonda has emphasized the urgency of addressing climate change effects and has committed to tackling the challenges brought on by the drought. On 16th April 2024, President Hakainde Hichilema announced that Zambia needs 23.5 billion kwacha to effectively implement immediate life-saving and sustaining humanitarian needs in view of the drought. President Hichilema also indicated that 532 million kwacha is required to protect the integrity and well-being of children under the age of 5, pregnant and lactating women for their nutrition needs. Details in this report.
On 16th April 2024, President Hakainde Hichilema, in a national address, announced that Zambia needs 23.5 billion kwacha to effectively implement immediate life-saving and sustaining humanitarian needs given the drought situation. President Hichilema also revealed that of the 23.5 billion kwacha, 1.3 billion is available, leaving a financing gap of 22.2 billion kwacha, with 12.6 billion kwacha required for immediate food assistance. He also indicated that 532 million kwacha is required to protect the integrity and well-being of children under the age of 5, as well as pregnant and lactating women for their nutrition needs. However, the latest projections from the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF Zambia, show that about 102,000 children are at risk of being malnourished, with about 1.7 million expectant mothers likely to suffer from anemic disorders.
The sight of a wasted child is not a good sight, and it should never happen to any child. And here we are talking about 102,000 children potentially being wasted this year because of the drought. Further to that, 270,000 children are at risk of being moderately severe malnutrition. In addition to that, 1.7 million pregnant women are at risk of being anemic because of the drought. So climate change is a child rights issue. Women and children have special needs. The future of a whole generation.
While UNICEF pledges to support efforts in averting the drought-related challenges on nutrition, Mr. Msonda calls for the need for everyone to play a part in dealing with climate change effects in the region.
Recently, or have been recently experienced in Zambia. So the call to action to build resilience is for all of us. And it is in simple things like reducing carbon footprint, driving less, using environmentally friendly materials for building, sustainable use and management of water, and so on and so forth. As UNICEF, we remain focused on long-term investment and resilient, sustainable systems capable of withstanding future climate impacts. For the sake of children's future, we need to take decisive action now to ensure that they are not only surviving but thrive in the...
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
The National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACEZ, has backed the call by the National Council of Student Unions, NACOSU, to exempt universities and colleges in the country from the current load shedding the country is facing. NACEZ Executive Director Aaron Chansa, in an interview with Camnet News, says load shedding higher institutions of learning is detrimental to the academic development of learners as it compromises the quality of their studies. He adds that government should consider providing alternative sources of energy such as solar to universities and colleges to alleviate the burden on students in these institutions.
Since its implementation
load shedding has disrupted various activities in many homes, businesses and schools, with people unable to run as per their daily schedule. Concerns have arisen from the public, students inclusive, who since the load shedding began have had to adjust their studying timetables. The 8-hour load shedding schedule has been described as inconveniencing by students in various institutions who depend on power for their academic aspirations to thrive. It is for this reason that the National Council of Student Unions, NACOSU, made a call for higher learning institutions to be exempted from being load shedded, as constant power outputs disturb the academic life of students in various universities and colleges.
Need to have exclusion in terms of load shedding. We find it very, very difficult and very, very uncomfortable that an institution of higher learning should be subjected to over 8 hours of load shedding. How will students study when they are using modern day gadgets? Research. How will students research? Wants to remodel student advocacy in the country, which had gone to the doldrums over the years. This team shall work closely to re-emphasize with the government of the day, not with the political party in power, but with the government of the day.
The National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACAIZE, has since backed up the call, stating that quality education for students thrives on constant power supply given the demands of the courses.
We totally agree with the suggestions that ZESCO must not load shed higher institutions of learning. We are getting concerned that this load shedding in our country is indiscriminate, including institutions of learning, which is quite retrogressive. Our position is that ZESCO must avoid that retrogressive behavior because it has a severe negative impact. We are losing a lot in terms of studying, in terms of teaching.
Mr. Chansa has further urged government to consider providing alternative power supply to universities and colleges across the country.
Also appealing to government to seriously consider going solar, especially in universities and colleges. We see that hydro is giving us challenges. Solar energy is one aspect that we think that can help even ZESCO to avoid the load shedding in colleges and universities, including schools. Schools are having challenges to teach computer studies, home economics, and also other subjects that require energy. Otherwise, we are not in support of the behavior by ZESCO to load shed colleges and universities.
Chanda Mwango for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Former Minister of Agriculture under the Michael Sata-led administration, Bob Sichinga, has criticized government's decision to import 650,000 metric tons of maize after the country allegedly exported 1.1 million tons to other countries. Mr. Sichinga questions the government's earlier intentions to export the maize commodity without considering the focus of the country's food security status. Recently, Agriculture Minister Ruben Mtolapiri revealed that government by the end of April would start the importation of 650,000 metric tons of maize from South Africa and other countries in East Africa to respond to the effects of the drought that has threatened the national food security. Here's a report.
Zambia plays a significant role in national food security, which over time has been regarded as a sector key to boosting the economy. With the drought being experienced, agriculture has not been spared too, which saw the state of national disaster and emergency being declared by Republican President Hakainde Hichilema. Recently, Agriculture Minister Ruben Mutolo revealed that government by the end of April will start the importation of 650,000 metric tons of maize from South Africa and other countries in East Africa to respond to the effect of the drought that has threatened the national food security. However, reports suggest that the call for importation after the country exported about 1.1 million metric tons of maize, a development former Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, Bob Sichinga, worries over. Mr. Sichinga has criticized the move, alleging wrong timing in the utilization of the maize the country had.
Yeah, I think it was an unwise decision. I just want to make reference to what we had when I was minister in 2013 to 2014. I was only minister for a year there, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock. We had a similar situation. Some good quantity of maize, but not sufficient to last us to cover Katanga and Zambia. So I decided that we were not going to export. But the little that we had that we could spare, we had to sell. And I had the opportunity to fly to Zimbabwe with the Vice President Guy Scott. Also Tanzania, Malawi came in, and we supplied to them what we thought was safe. The others I had to put a ban on the export, what we could not explain. It was provided to Katanga, it was provided to Zambia, it was provided to Tanzania, Malawi and Zimbabwe. But I made sure that at least we had a year's supply in our coffer.
The former minister, however, proposes the need for government to invest in the storage of farming produce to ensure the country remains food secure. He also explains that even when the country has good storage facilities, exporting should only be conducted once guaranteed of national food security.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that those areas which were producing more, like Petauke, just as an example, Petauke is now producing more than Kalomo. Kalomo was our major food basket. The source of our food was Kalomo. But because of the drought, it has moved now to Petauke. So Petauke needed to have that. Lundazi is another major source. That must be done. Northern Province now had more production than it had before. Because normally Muchinga, Northern, Wapula and Northwestern, they produce cassava. They used to produce cassava as traditional source of mealie meal. So we needed to make sure that the source of maize that we were talking about, because they had the rainfall, was going to be preserved there. Store it there. Don't transport it until you need it. In other words, make sure that what we export should not be maize. We should be exporting.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
The National Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, has called on government through the Ministry of Education to engage local business individuals in different localities to construct teacher houses, especially in rural areas.
That are big business people. Go to Lundazi, you find them. Go to Gwembe, you find them. Go to Vubwi, you find them. Go to Kabompo, you find them. Go to Nalolo, you find them. Go to Chiengi, you find them. Go to Mpika, you find them. They are everywhere. So if we sat down with those businessmen and women to partner that they construct simple but decent housing units for our teachers in those localities, in those rural areas especially, if they are to partner and do that, we will not have a challenge. The terms will be very simple, that these housing units are going to be rented out to our public service workers, and that they will be pegged at a certain amount. Those units will not go to waste. Teachers and other public service workers will rent them, and at the end of the day, this particular business person will get their money back, and government will actually benefit by having their workers accommodated. And this is what we want to start seeing going forward, so that in the next 5 years we are not complaining of not having housing units.
Economist Yusuf Dodia says government should consider the reintroduction of fuel subsidies to cushion the impacts of the escalating prices of petroleum products on the consumers. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Dodia says with several sectors such as health and education being subsidized through schemes such as NIMA and the free education policy, fuel should be equally subsidized, especially given the current economic challenges the country is experiencing. He adds that the country's economic growth is highly dependent on fuel, and as such, the recent upward adjustment has compromised the sustainability of several sectors in the country, such as the manufacturing industry and transportation. He has further charged that the increase in kerosene equally poses negative implications to the country, as it may lead to deforestation. Here's a report.
Fuel prices constantly fluctuating Zambians have begun to question the sustainability of their businesses, especially amidst an already biting economy. On 30th April 2024, the Energy Regulation Board ERB announced an adjustment upward in the cost of petroleum products, which saw petrol begin to sell at 35.56 ingwe, its all-time high price since the monthly review of the prices by the Energy Regulation Board. This development attracted mixed reactions from the public, with interested stakeholders calling for the reintroduction of fuel subsidies, which were scrapped off in 2021 by the UPND after assuming office. However, at a media briefing in Lusaka, Minister of Information and Media and Chief Government Spokesperson Cornelius Mwetwa stated that government has no immediate plans of reversing its decision to strap off fuel subsidies.
Fuel, for instance. I would like to indicate that presently the government Republic of Zambia has no immediate intentions to reintroduce fuel subsidies. This is because the fuel subsidies, firstly, cannot be reintroduced in the face of a debt which was inherited by this administration, which it is still in process to liquidate or pay. An attempt to introduce subsidy, therefore, would just escalate the deficit, financial deficit situation the country finds itself in terms of the energy sector.
But economist Yusuf Dodja is of the view that there is need for the reintroduction of fuel subsidies given the current state of the economy. He adds that fuel, just like the health sector and education, should equally be subsidized.
If it's necessary to subsidize for the purpose of being competitive, it becomes necessary for us to subsidize. I think that's something as a nation we should be prepared to do. Right now we are subsidizing education grade 1 to grade 12. Right now we are subsidizing healthcare through the National Health Insurance Management Agency, NIMA. There's no reason why we should not be able to subsidize the allocation or access of fuel by industry, commerce, and the people of Zambia. We're doing it with water. Water that is piped to homes is owned by local government authorities. And these local government authorities are not running the water supply business as a profitable business. It is a service to the nation.
Mr. Dodja has further charged that amidst the current power deficit, the increase in petroleum products, among them that of kerosene, may point to deforestation as citizens will tend to charcoal for alternative sources of energy.
In the case of kerosene, it means that our country is gravitating towards deforestation because people would rather spend money on charcoal than buy the expensive kerosene, which has gone up by 38%. And if there's a demand for charcoal, it means there's a demand for the cutting of trees, which means it enhances the damage to the environment by deforestation. So we can see the negative consequences of fuel going up to the nation, economically, socially, and even environmentally.
Chanda Mwango for Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Small and Medium Enterprises Association of Zambia, SMEAZ, has urged government not to undermine small and medium enterprises in the country, as they are key players in the growth of the country's economy. In an interview with Camnet News, SMEAZ Director of Mines and Mineral Resources, Ngobola Muyembe, says government should heavily invest in local businesses to foster national development and contribute to the country's gross domestic product, GDP. He further adds that Zambia should emulate Western countries that have invested in their local businesses and as such have resources circulating within their country that has seen them expand their economies.
Are going to be paid, even if DRESCO increases, but you know that a larger portion of that will be going to your own businesses. And the importance of having small businesses, I know people always talk about no, the Zambians have no capacity, I know these other things, but you have to think about it in that one way. Why is Japan's GDP, also GDP to debt ratio still very high, but they still keep borrowing? It's because they borrow from their own businesses. So imagine this $17 billion that we owe. Imagine if that was owed to the Zambian people. That would still be sustainable because those are your people, right? But if you even give up solar panels and green jobs to other people, it means the tariffs, if they increase them in the future, you will be paying to a French company or a British company or an American company. So this is a chance to own your own energy. So it is a crisis, yes, but it's not something that can be left to other people to solve. So for me, I actually think when you are in a crisis, it's like when you're at war. You don't get foreign soldiers to come and fight your war. You get your own people. You even recruit them, the ones that don't even know how to hold a gun. You show them because it's the same thing that we are in. So we got to look for solutions inside our own country.
Energy expert engineer Boniface Zulu has urged ZESCO Limited to find lasting solutions to the current power deficit the country is facing. He says that the importation of power is just a measure meant to cushion and alleviate the impacts of the current deficit on consumers, given the low water levels in the reservoirs induced by drought, and as such, there is need for other lasting measures. He adds that the move might, however, compromise the sovereignty of the country's energy sector.
Importation of power is currently a cushion solution, while we're just supposed to cushion or alleviate the pain that ordinary Zambians are faced with of 8 hours load shedding, because the country requires us to have energy in order to run our economy. So it's just supposed to be something that is going to help alleviate the pain, but it's not a lastful solution, because at the end of the day, our energy security is threatened. In case of anything like geopolitical wise, importing energy has got its own advantages and disadvantages, and it's got more on the disadvantage side because it gives us, it compromises our sovereignty in terms of energy, because we are dependent on another nation to produce energy for us, which affects our energy security in the long run. So it's just supposed to be a cushion situation. The Kariba Dam at full capacity produces over 1,080 megawatts, but currently it's producing over 200 to 300 megawatts. So meaning that there's a deficiency of somewhere around 600 megawatts, and Zambia is only importing around 200 megawatts from Mozambique. So the Zambian government needs to increase that number to somewhere even 500 megawatts, which can help in the long run reduce the load shedding hours. As we wait to bank on the water in the Kariba Dam, we need to look at that as a solution, just to cushion the current situation. It's not a lasting solution because it compromises.
A 14-year-old pupil at Siamaundu Primary School in Chirundu District, George Siachalinga, has died after a concrete makeshift musical stage collapsed on him while playing with his friends. Confirming the incident to Zanis, cousin to the deceased, Admiral Munsanje, says George was playing a hide-and-seek game with 4 other friends when the accident occurred last evening. Zanis reports that Mr. Munsanje has explained that the deceased friends were pulled out of the debris with bruises without knowing that George was buried under until the discovery of his body this morning by passers-by. Police officers from Chirundu Police Station have since deposited the body to Mtendere Mission General Hospital mortuary in the presence of some of his relatives.
So we building here, most of the time, we functions. Mankosa so that is why it was suspended that building. One of the Roman there were 4, about 5 in the number. So what you never put Uganda, so anyone who was any brand again never got out to Mbana 5 was George Charinga, then the rest are ones, but never to the club blues are going to service. Over where we take after Chago, then I'm going to so Bamukeza Hussein, but the other group never just at the same day yesterday night. So you move at one month, so we say you move on our motor. We don't have so go to another one to 500 to this actually.
2 villages in Mazabuka district will soon be connected to a solar water reticulation system with support from a group of American well-wishers, People's Action Forum. Fort Louis College, in collaboration with People's Action Forum, PAF, is rolling out clean and safe piped water to households of Nachili and Siwoyi communities under the Shanta program. More in this report.
Development has located Nachili and Siwoyi villages of Mazabuka district. The 2 villages who have solar-powered piped water in their households, gifted to them by American Fort Lewis College, working with the People's Action Forum PAF. Currently, community members are working on trenches for laying pipes from erected 20,000 liters of tanks to strategic points identified for installation of taps in the communities. The partners says this project is just the beginning of more to come.
We are here to help. No one is paying us to be here. We are all volunteering to come help you as a community develop these services. So we hope over the next 2 weeks that we can work together to help develop this water service for you, the communities. That projects will continue to come and all households will get water in the coming years.
The community is grateful for this development. People's Action Forum and government intend to cement their partnership of developing communities.
We are here to work for 2 weeks, and what we want, the team, the partners are ready to get this work done in 2 weeks.
And I'm challenging the women to ensure that they run with it and ensure that there's going to be no politics of pushing and shoving.
What a blessing that we have our partners from America bring us water to our doorsteps instead of traveling maybe 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers with your 20-liter container on your head. Those days should be long gone under the current administration.
Women are geared for this project.
Nenda tulikunywa bo alega ngombe twalipengete tolikujiswa bo makolera gayindiga nini ebolagale ndege itubwesa kututola kugawama so mulonga wiri dotirandene maningi bambi bala washogu mosi yenyewe kutela menda kunya so kulije yajitige tupa ulumbaga pati.
The 2 villages were recently hit by waterborne diseases, which includes cholera, and this project will improve sanity among the communities. Gazela Habwanda, Zanis, in Mazabuka district of Southern Province.
You're watching Camnet Television Main News. We'll take a break. We'll be back shortly after this break.
Are you looking for a reliable and efficient courier company with international standards? Then let UBZ Courier, your trusted partner in swift and secure deliveries, be your ultimate choice. Whether it's a small package or a hefty consignment, UBZ Courier handles it all, locally and internationally. Our modern call center ensures personalized attention for every client. For seamless deliveries within Zambia and beyond, trust UBZ Courier. Call us now on +260-763-062-680 or visit us at plot number 15 Mwapona Road, Woodlands, Lusaka, Zambia. UBZ Courier, a world-class brand that can be trusted.
Potatoes, the unsung heroes of flavor. From crispy chips to creamy mash, potatoes are the versatile superstars of your kitchen. Grown with love by our dedicated workforce drawn from around the community of Palavana. Savenda Farm's commitment is to see to it that we have potatoes that are grown right, healthy, big and tasty. For that quick fix or big celebration or that meal that brings family together, top chefs rely on the Savenda potato to create culinary masterpieces. And for others, it's that icebreaker to a delightful conversation. So, embrace the magic of Savenda potatoes. They're not just a side dish, they're the heart and soul of your kitchen. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
With this impending drought, it's time we look to alternatives of sustaining our crops. We as ISDP are promoting irrigation and water harvesting as the solution to challenges posed by climate change. Watch our 13-week series as we unfold the solutions for our crops. Catch us every Monday at 2040 hours, repeats every Tuesday at 1910.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. There can be lifelong challenges for people with sickle cell disease in rural Uganda, where it remains poorly understood. In one of the hotspots for sickle cell in the east of the country, a young woman living with the disease is ramping up efforts to educate and counsel communities about the disease. Barbara Nabulo, now 37, was diagnosed with an inherited blood disorder when she was just 2 weeks old. Here's a roundup of international news for more.
Barbara Nabulo arriving at a hospital in Mbali in eastern Uganda. She was diagnosed with the inherited blood disorder sickle cell when she was 2 weeks old. Now 37, she's become an inspirational counsellor to fellow sufferers. They never thought of me as important, like someone who'd grow up or someone who's supposed to get an education, because they used to tell my mother that people like me don't grow. We can't go to school and we don't produce children. So as a child, my mother looked after me and she stopped taking me to the hospital when I was 12 years old. So, when I was 12, she'd put me in a taxi from our village and she'd tell me to go to the clinic. The disorder causes the normally round, red blood cells to become hard and crescent-shaped, clogging the flow of blood. This often leads to infections, excruciating pain and other complications.
Before he was 2 years back, he was falling sick, but we didn't know which disease that. So when we confirmed when he was 2 years in April, then from there we started struggling with him, struggling up to now.
The only cure for the pain is a bone marrow transplant or gene therapy, beyond the reach of most patients. But there is a drug that can reduce periods of severe pain and other complications.
It's I would say a wonder drug. It has changed the course of managing children with sickle cell. We used to be so frustrated, you know. You care for a child, then they reach like 12 years, and they get so many complications. And even you start wishing and saying, this child. So because of that trauma, hydroxyurea has now changed it. Like it improves on the what? On the quality of life of these patients.
She says messages of hope from people like Nabulu help those who feel discouraged or worry that sickle cell is a death sentence. Her father says he's proud of her.
During that time when Barbara was born, anyway, if someone had sickle cell, people looked at her as just being sickly like that. But I think up to this moment, people have come, they are getting some little light due to this radio information.
Nabulo is mother to twin daughters and a son, but despite positive trends, many like her continue to face discrimination. 6 years since the opening of the Chinese-built railway linking landlocked Ethiopia with Djibouti's main Red Sea port. On Friday, there were celebrations in Addis Ababa to mark its achievements and to officially end China's operational and maintenance services for the line.
In the past 10 years, the Belt and Road Initiative has been one of the main forces promoting the vigorous development of Ethiopia's infrastructure construction and manufacturing industry, and has also created a large number of job opportunities for Ethiopian youth. In this regard, the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railway, built by China, has become a landmark, large-scale project of the Belt and Road Initiative.
The railway cuts transportation time for freight goods from more than 3 days to less than 20 hours, reduces cost by at least a third, and helps Ethiopia access maritime trade ports. Since the railway commenced operation, transportation volume at Djibouti's ports have increased by about 20%. The over 750-kilometre long line is the first electrified transnational railway in East Africa. The town of Bria in the Central African Republic, home to the country's largest camp for internally displaced people. After decades of instability, 20% of Central Africans have fled their homes to escape fighting between armed factions, including Rafael Dekuzago. Now he runs his own shop with help from the United Nations and partner organizations. Given his disability, life was even harder for him in the camp. The financial assistance I received allowed me to start a business. I saved my profits to start other activities. I plan to split the money into two. One part will be used to pay the dowry for my future wife, hoping that God blesses us with children and that we can live together happily as a family. The prospect of a brighter future for Rafael. Managed by the UN Humanitarian Affairs Office, OCHA, the response plan targets over 400,000 of the country's most vulnerable displaced people or returnees.
And our sports news tonight. Tottenham Hotspur face a big test on Tuesday against Manchester City as the North London club look to secure a top 4 finish in the Premier League with 2 games remaining. Manager Ange Postecoglou said after their 2-1 home victory against Burnley. League leaders City have 85 points from 36 games and Arsenal have 83. City could wrap up the title by beating Spurs on Tuesday if Arsenal fail to beat Manchester United on Sunday. 5th placed Spurs lost ground in their battle for 4th place with Aston Villa after suffering 4 straight defeats in the league, but bounced back with a win on Saturday that saw their opponents Burnley relegated to the Championship. Villa host Liverpool on Monday and visit Crystal Palace next, and Spurs visit relegated Sheffield United after hosting City. Spurs, who trail Villa by 4 points, will need the 6 points to keep their hopes of playing in the Champions League alive. To end Camnet television menus, the top stories once again. Residents in MONGU district express gratitude for government's maize delivery efforts. UNICEF Zambia warns of devastating impact of drought on children and pregnant women. SMEAZ calls on government to empower small-medium enterprises for economic expansion. In international news, rural Ugandan woman gives hope to fellow sufferers of sickle cell disease. And in sports news, Spurs to be tested against Man City, says Postecoglou. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 57. But thanks be to God, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for watching Camnet Television News. Good night.